King 5's aviation specialist Glenn Farley is here with more on what we know so far. Glenn?
Well, Lori and Mark, both of these planes were carrying passengers off the Royal Princess cruise ship, which was in Seattle last Friday, but didn't pick up passengers here for this specific cruise until it reached Vancouver, BC, then headed back to Alaska. The National Transportation Safety Board just wrapped up a briefing in Ketchikan and says the accident happened at about 3,200 feet as both planes were heading back to the airport. Latest pictures from the U.S. Coast Guard show one of the seaplanes in the water floats up. One plane, a de Havilland Beaver, the FAA says was operated by Mountain Air Services. The 10 survivors were aboard a bigger float plane, a de Havilland Otter, operated by a different company, Taquan Air. These pictures taken of one of their planes just days ago. Those victims were all taken to a Ketchikan hospital where Dr. Peter Rice is medical director.
Decisions were made on whether to treat them here or to make further stabilization and medevac them to the Harborview Medical Center.
Last night, Harborview received 4 survivors, one a 67-year-old man in intensive care, 3 others now stabilized, including a married couple, both 61 years old. A GO team from the National Transportation Safety Board expected on the ground this afternoon to begin sorting out what happened. Right now, there are only questions. What's going through your mind?
What equipment did each of the aircraft have on board? What training did the pilots have? Were the aircraft in communication with each other?
Jimmy Anderson is a Seattle-based pilot and aviation attorney. We don't know how the planes struck each other, but it's clear they were up an inlet, a mountainous fjord where Anderson suspects they were below any radar reach and out of sight to air traffic controllers. But were the planes equipped with TCAS, a traffic collision avoidance system, an option for this type of flying, or even ADS-B, which could have advised the pilots that another plane was in the area?
We don't know yet whether both of the aircraft had ADS-B out installed. ADS-B out isn't required until January 1st of next year.
Now, the National Transportation Safety Board says just now that they are going to try and get some radar tracks from the FAA. It's unclear to exactly what they have, and it sounds like the larger plane, the de Havilland Otter in this case, did have something on board. We're going to try to find out more about that. Basically, the NTSB investigators who are there on site, including folks from Washington, D.C., one of the NTSB board members, as well as NTSB folks based in Anchorage, are going to be able to make it out to the site tomorrow. So far, those investigators are just sort of arriving, organizing, getting ready to go.
What can you tell us about past float plane or tour plane collisions there?
Well, in the Ketchikan area, we had one where everybody walked away. It also involved Taquan, which is one of the companies here that ended up, you may remember some of those shots from last year, last July. All those people were fine. There was another one by another company in 2015 where 9 people were killed.
Well, Glenn,
that would involve both hitting mountains.
With smaller planes like this, Glenn, are they pretty much on their own to line of sight, see where other planes are?
Well, there's a basic concept for flying called see and avoid. We know there was light wind, probably not a factor here. We know that there was it was cloudy yesterday from what we are told by the NTSB, but it was very high. So these planes should have been able to see each other. And one of the things we talked about with Jimmy Anderson on these flights, and he used to live up in Alaska, was they typically have they kind of follow each other around. But they were at different levels. It sounds like from what the NTSB, that the Otter was coming in from a higher altitude. Seeing below you, depending on how things line up, can be more difficult, but not necessarily impossible. Where there are distractions, we don't have flight, cockpit voice recorders on these planes typically, probably not. So there's a lot to think about going forward here.
Okay, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.